Buenas noches. I'm opening the show with a Spanish version of Good Evening. This is Wake Up and Live with the Arts. I'm Sue Johnson, along with our co-host, Gary Webster. And the reason I said Buenas noches is because our very special guest is Edel Munoz, and he is with the Cleveland Classical Guitar Society, along with Erik Mann, who is the executive director of the Cleveland Classical Guitar Society. And we are so excited to have them join us this evening, where we can, Gary, learn about, to me this is new, the Cleveland Classical Guitar Society, and then to hear a great performance selection by Edel. We'll talk to him, and we'll pull out your high school Spanish, because we'll try to
I'm trying to remember as much of it as I can, but we're talking ancient history here.
Yeah, Senor Munoz.
Yes, that's
okay.
right.
Okay, so anyway, why don't we start chatting with Erik Mann, who comes to us through Matt Riles, his PR and marketing and sales director, who contacted us, and Matt can't be here this evening, to help chat about what goes on at the Guitar Society. So Erik, how long has the society been in existence?
Well, we've been around for about 10 years, and it began as sort of a small collection of amateur guitarists who got together to perform for each other. And a few years ago, we decided to sort of restructure it to make it really accessible to the whole community.
Okay, well, how did it accidentally get started, the happenstance? One day, a bunch of guys sitting around drinking a beer and said, hey, let's, play guitar.
No, they're Spanish guitarists that were drinking like tequila.
Tequila, yeah.
Well, it actually started with a woman by the name of Ann Wilson, and she was, actually she is a professional pianist and organist, and at the time she was studying guitar, so she was sort of an amateur classical guitarist. And she thought, well, all these other cities, most of the other major cities have guitar societies, why don't we? So she just decided to put it together, and she did just a fantastic job with it.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, how is it that it's classical guitar? Do you have a background in R&B, jazz, blues, Broadway, pop? I mean, are you a guitarist yourself?
Yes, I am. I studied jazz a little bit, yeah, but my background's mainly in classical guitar. I have a master's in classical guitar. And yeah, the classical guitar is a wonderful instrument. It's literally a little bit of a different instrument from other guitars.
Okay, and how so?
Well,
what makes it different?
Yeah, it uses nylon strings. We play it with the fingernails of the right hand, and it gets just a big variety of tone colors, and just there are a lot of different subtle effects you can get from it.
And this is not an electric guitar.
That's correct.
Are there any classical guitars that would be electric, or does that preclude playing classical guitar on that sort of guitar?
Right, not really. I mean, yeah, for the most part, we like to play with no amplification whatsoever, if we can.
And are there particular brand names, like, who is that? B.B. King's Lucille? Do you have particular brand names of guitars that folks in an organization like yours would tend to use, or Edel would tend to use?
Well, there are brands for student models, but when you get into the very high quality guitars like this one, these are individual luthiers who are, constructing handcrafted instruments.
I see.
So, yeah.
And where is the society located? Do you have a home in Cleveland in terms of a building, office, studio?
Well, we're sort of all over.
Okay,
yeah.
like us,
yeah.
Right, Gary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoever will have us.
Whoever.
Well, most of our concerts are in Shaker Heights.
Really? Hello. That's my home area.
Okay, yeah.
Where have you done concerts in Shaker Heights?
Plymouth Church.
Of course, that's
First
around the
Unitarian.
corner.
Yeah,
And that's up on Shaker Boulevard. Have you done these for the AHA, the Shaker Heights Arts Council?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they do what we call, I shouldn't say we, but because I'm no longer actively involved, but they have what are called AHA events. Because you don't know that Shaker has this wonderful stuff. So AHA, this is this group performing, and sometimes they have them in public places, sometimes they have them, Shaker has large homes still where they have enough room to bring in, 50 or so people to hear music in a library or a solarium, It's real fascinating. I'll try to put you in touch with them.
Okay.
If I can find out who's in charge. Oh, I know who's in charge now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the more famous classical guitar? Who are some of the more famous classical guitarists in terms of either modern day names that we know, or from way back when, the pioneers, the fathers? There are no mothers, are there, in classical guitar?
There are a few, yeah.
Yeah, the fathers of classical guitar.
Well, the name that most people know is Andre Segovia.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's no longer alive, of course. And some other sort of household names would be John Williams, not to be confused with the movie composer.
I was getting ready to ask.
No, a different one, yeah.
Okay.
And Julian Bream.
Yes.
Yeah. And then today there are just so many wonderful guitarists. We had Paul Galbraith perform for us earlier this year. The Polish guitarist Marcin Dilla will be performing later. So there's many wonderful classical guitarists from all around the world.
Yeah, including Edel, who
Yes.
has lived in several countries.
Yes.
Can you tell us just the name of few of the countries you have lived in?
I live in Argentina,
Argentina,
and in Chile,
Chile,
in Barcelona, Spain,
Barcelona, Spain. Wow.
in Montreal, Canada.
So you keep your suitcase packed. You
So
are a
many
true vagabond.
Yeah.
A gypsy. That's what we are in the arts. Isn't that what we're called when we travel a lot in the
Yes.
arts? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Something I was going to ask. Do you have something in the meantime? Because my brain just went blank.
Well, I was thinking about.
I know.
Okay, well, go right ahead.
What I was getting ready to ask, we will not air this in time for your concert tomorrow, but we're taping this on November 15th, and they have a major concert tomorrow, the 16th. But we do want to promote that, because if people hear about it and know the kind of thing you do, then they may want to contact you after the fact for something else coming up. So
Sure,
tell us about
sure.
the concert tomorrow.
Oh, sure. Well, the concert tomorrow is a solo concert by Edel here, and that's at Plymouth Church.
And that is on the corner of,
Coventry and Shaker, almost.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
Coventry and not Fairmount, but it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is where it is.
It is where it is.
Yeah, yeah. And then some upcoming concerts that our viewers will get to check out. We've got one in January by Robert Gruca, a guitarist, with a string quartet from the Blue Water Chamber Orchestra.
Okay.
So that'll be guitar with string quartet. Wonderful, wonderful local players. And then in February, we have a collaboration with a great local Baroque ensemble.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Yes.
called Les Délices.
Okay.
And we're partnering with them to bring in a lute player, one of the finest lute players in the world.
Wow,
Yeah,
that sounds exciting. Are you
Yeah.
able to tell when and where and contact information about those upcoming events?
Well,
Yeah.
I suppose the easiest way is to go to our website, which is
Please.
sure clevelandclassicalguitar.org.
Okay, that's clevelandclassicalguitar.org.
Yeah.
And of course the obligatory www in front of it. Why we still bothered to do that, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know.
So yes, sir, you were going to ask a question.
Well, Eric, in talking about the various locations where the concerts are held, and considering the venue that we are in tonight, and by the way, we're at Greenmont Party Center, as we usually are in South Euclid, this is not, as we pointed out, an electric guitar. What would be the ideal acoustical location for classical guitar to be played?
Yeah, well, I think very good question. I think we found, some of the best locations in the city. Plymouth Church and First Unitarian Church are where a
Yes.
lot of our concerts are held. They both have wonderful acoustics for classical guitar. What you need is a quiet environment where there's not a lot of traffic, and just a very resonant hall, and not too big. So these halls, the biggest halls, that we use, hold, maybe 400 people if you really pack them in there.
I see.
Yeah. So a church sanctuary that has just all hard surfaces is often
Very good. Yeah. Now, do you perform or have you performed at such places as the Cleveland Institute of Music or the small rooms at Severance Hall, or Case has developed so many musical areas
Right.
now. So do you perform in
Right.
places like those?
Right. We haven't had concerts at those places now. no.
Okay. Is that something that perhaps could be coming up in the future, or
Oh, it could,
as they say,
could
who
be.
knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah. Cleveland Institute of Music has some very fine halls
Okay.
as well. So, yeah,
Sounds
absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
Edel, now, how long have you lived in Cleveland?
No, I no live.
Okay, how long have you been in Cleveland this
Oh.
time?
For
Since last night.
Okay,
he-
how long will you be in Cleveland?
one day more.
One more day.
Yeah, so
Okay.
very
Yeah,
fast.
one of the things we do is now we've really expanded to bringing in some of the finest musicians in the world. So so as I said, we have someone coming from Poland. And,
Yes.
And so
Well, in
Yeah.
particular, how did you find Edel?
good question. Yeah. Well, there are several people that I'm in contact with whose opinion I trust highly, who have traveled a lot and heard a lot of classical guitarists, and I try and do that as well. And two of the people whose opinion I trust the most both said, "This is the guy you want."
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, is your organization, how is it funded? Do you have to write grants for proposals and?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. Yep, we do grants. We get donations, and of course, for many of our concerts, we have tickets.
Ticket admissions,
Yeah,
yes.
but not
And-
all of them. Some we have free concerts.
Okay, well, that's excellent, because
Yeah.
one of the things about the arts around town is, when possible, folks are giving free events to attract an audience, and also to make it more accessible to
Yeah.
those who might not be able to afford, the high ticket prices. So viewers in the audience can get that ticket price admission by going to the website, Cleveland Classical Guitar Society. All that together? Cleveland Classical
ClevelandClassicalGuitar.org.
.org,
Yeah.
no society on
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Not in the web address, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and now, is Cleveland your home, or
Yes,
are you? Okay.
yes.
And where did you get your training?
Oh, well, I did my master's at Cleveland Institute of Music,
Mm-hmm.
and wonderful place to study. Yeah.
And now, is this your full-time career, running the society?
Well, it's a part-time. That's part-time, and then I also teach as well. So
Oh,
I
where do
a
you
lot of
teach?
things. Well, I teach a little bit at Cleveland Institute of Music,
Okay.
and a little bit at Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania.
You travel, or is this, or
Yeah.
do they have a satellite campus here?
No, I travel. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he too is a vagabond, a gypsy.
Yeah.
Because he's
Yes.
all
So-
over. And you said you have traveled in the past. You go try to hear some of these artists in different locations.
Yeah.
Now, does the society as a group travel to perform in other cities yet? Or
No.
your
no.
your goal is to bring in musicians to the Cleveland market,
Yeah.
so that we can be exposed.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, having said that, Edel, we are getting ready to hear some of your wonderful music that you perform and that you will be performing tomorrow. And would you tell us the title of
Yeah.
the Bach piece, Prelude?
Yeah, the first piece is Preludio 998.
And that's by Johann Sebastian Bach.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Bach. I can't do it quite right.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. And so, why do you like that piece?
I like all Bach.
Okay.
Bach is Bach.
Okay. Did you study
Yeah.
him in your learning and training? Did you study Bach?
Mhm.
Okay. And then you're going to do another selection from Cuba, which is your home.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you still go there at all, to Cuba? Do you visit?
Yeah,
have family?
Yeah. Last December,
Mhm.
I visited Cuba for 1 month.
Okay. And so now you're going to honor Cuban music composer. And what is the title of the Cuban
Yeah,
piece?
it's Guajira a mi madre
Mm-hmm.
by Nico Rojas.
Okay. And that's something about my mama.
Yes, that's right. Mi madre is my mother.
My mother,
Yes, I
yes.
remember that much.
Madre de Dios. Yes, I remember that from a video I did for a while back. Okay, Edel, why don't we take a minute and get you set up over there so that you can regale us with your shower us with your wonderful musical arts talent. Okay? So we'll be right back. Don't you go away. Beautiful. Bellissimo is Italian. Spanish is
Just say bravo.
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 that'll work.
Okay. And your next selection. Well, that was absolutely incredibly beautiful. And that kind of music just puts you in the mood to relax, and yet that little Latin beat and rhythm kicked in there, and I felt myself, just doing a little bit of this.
It's very different from Ricky Ricardo performing Babalu at the Tropicana. Very
Yes,
different.
Very different.
Very
yes.
different. I'm always interested when I interview artists, whether it be writers or singers or musicians. How long have you been doing this, Edel?
How long have you been
Playing the guitar.
Oh, I began for playing with 7 years old.
7 years old.
So I have 36, so maybe 30 years.
Okay, so your whole life,
Yeah.
practically.
And that's something else that always interests me is when somebody understands that this is inside them and it's something that you want to do. So you've been doing this since you were 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew that the music was in there and this was something that you wanted to do.
Has music been your whole life?
Yeah.
Okay. And has guitar been your whole life?
Mm-hmm.
Now, has there been singing involved when you play your concerts and you have other artists in, or for instance, do you sing along with some of your selections? Is there singing involved, or is it pure guitar?
Yep.
Yeah. It's only playing guitar.
Only guitar. Okay.
Yeah, for the most part we do instrumental music. So
Mhm.
just guitar solo or guitar with violin or with string quartet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any dancing that goes along with it, or is it strictly the guitar
No,
performance?
no dancing yet, but who knows, maybe sometime in the future.
Yeah, like I said, with that
Yeah.
Cuban piece, the rhythm just kind of gets you going, and I could see a young lady in the costume and doing a little bit of the, not flamenco, but just a little something to go with the music, a little
Sure.
dance with the music. Yeah. So now, if you don't mind, I'd like to showcase something special to your industry, your artistry. If you don't mind, may I showcase your thumbnails and your fingernails? Because this is what we're a teaching organization as well.
Okay.
And there's a reason why you have longer thumbnails, and those who are aspiring to play this type of guitar need to know that that's one component of being a classical guitarist, because you don't have like the other guitarists have. Picks.
Oh,
Picks,
picks,
no.
right.
I was going to ask about that. I thought it might sound kind of flippant, but apparently it's not. You don't use guitar picks.
That's true. Our fingernails are our
Okay,
guitar
do you mind
picks.
showcasing that?
Oh,
Is that a problem?
sure.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's
There you go. And those are your picks, and they're beautifully
Yeah.
shapen.
thanks.
Is there then a specific way that you need to manicure your fingernails in order to
absolutely.
use them for that purpose?
Do you lose your fingernails a lot with guitar playing?
You can.
You can.
Yep.
Okay. But that is absolutely intriguing that you don't use metal picks as other kinds of guitarists do, that you use your organic fingernail.
So 4 picks.
Oh,
Yeah.
four.
No, only one.
Oh, four.
Four.
Okay. All right.
That's a good point. That's how he makes it sound like so many different instruments are playing at the same time,
Okay.
because he has so many different picks.
That,
Like
to
the
work
strings
with.
at the same time, yeah.
Okay. Do you use your 4 fingers too also when you play?
Sure.
Okay. Now, here I go again. There was something brilliant I was getting ready to ask or comment. Oh yes, now I know what it is. Because we're going to begin to bring this to a close before he freezes to death. But you, as an executive director of this musical organization, and I'm sure you do teaching. Now, what some wise or advice, wisdom, insights and wisdom would you give folks, no matter how old they are, some insights as to what it takes to be a classical guitarist? what would you tell them if this is something that they wanted to look into?
Sure. Well, I guess the first thing is they would need to study with someone very good. And secondly, once they've done that, once they've gone through all the very good training, is they need to start thinking outside the box a little bit in terms of their career. Because it's in classical music in general, careers aren't what they used to be. It's not all just going and playing concerts. You have to do a lot of different things and be creative with your career.
And be versatile.
Yes.
We keep hearing this all the time.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly.
And then locally, where would that kind of training be available to somebody who wants to get started?
Sure. Well, there's a number of colleges here in Cleveland. Cleveland Institute of Music, Baldwin Wallace, Oberlin, University of Akron, and Cleveland State, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
Does Case Western have a music department, or
mhm,
is it the
yeah.
CIM, the Cleveland
Yeah.
Institute of Music?
Yeah, they have their
Yeah.
they have their own music department, but they're also connected. Yeah. Yeah, and so as a musician, you can most of these institutions have preparatory departments where someone can study and prepare for getting a degree.
And by all means, what we would advise is that you go to concerts and performances and actually see the artistry being worked live in a performance, because that's another way of learning. Are there private
Absolutely.
coaches in classical guitar training that people would find, or is it better to find a good school with a good training program?
Well, I would say, yeah. I mean, most of the teaching is done one-on-one. And I suppose the easiest place to start is with a school. But yeah, there are some excellent teachers who teach outside of schools as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
question. Are you a private tutor yourself, a coach? So people
Yeah.
can contact you as well
Sure.
through the website? Or through a different email address, or through a phone number if people were interested in you being a coach, exploring that possibility?
Sure. I guess the easiest way would be through my website,
Okay.
which is emann.net.
Okay.
So it's my first initial, E, and last name, Mann.
.net. Okay. Alrighty then. Gary, for the good of the order, do you have any other inquiring mind questions?
Well, I just think this has been an intriguing segment of the program, something different than I think we've ever had before.
We're moving on up in the world, baby. We're moving on up.
Especially to have such an internationally
National-
renowned guest
Uh-huh.
as Edel. And you mentioned early in the program we talked about the guitar. We've been talking about where you could go to begin studying classical guitar. If you don't have one, what kind of instrument would you recommend to somebody who is seriously looking into beginning a career as a classical guitarist?
Well, that's where probably talking with a teacher would be the best option. It just depends on one's price range. So
Doesn't it always?
Always.
So if you want to be if you really want to make a career out of it, you have to spend, at
Yeah,
least,
look, a great amount of money, because it's not
many thousands.
Yeah, it's not inexpensive.
Right.
But going to sometimes schools have scholarships for folks who need it. Rainey Institute. Now we just were there taping one of our segments, and we did not see classical guitar, but we certainly saw through the Rainey Institute little tiny kids learning the violin, the viola, and the cello, and getting the discipline and the artistry, the training, and that's a school where neighborhood children and youth and young adults can go to learn that particular musical form. Yeah, so there are opportunities. You just have to look for them. Certainly, you can contact Erik to get his insights at emann@.net. .net. And certainly you can contact us at wakeupandlives.org. Wakeupandlives with an S.org for information, or wakeup4664@aol.com. And if we can refer you to the appropriate places, we'd be delighted. So before we close, Edel, not only must we thank you, but what is your next stop? when you leave Cleveland, where will you be going?
I play next year in I don't remember the
In the United States?
yeah in the United States in Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't remember now the Kennox.
Knoxville?
No, no.
Okay,
I
well,
don't
somewhere in
remember.
Kentucky.
Yeah, I can see my
Tennessee.
my
Oh, Tennessee.
my schedule.
Okay, Tallahassee. No, Tennessee.
That's in Florida.
That's in Florida.
Tallahassee's in Florida.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Nashville?
No, it's K-N-O Knix.
No, we don't know either, so
Yeah.
we are the same. We don't know either. Okay.
It's
So
very very strange for me this name.
So you'll be in Tennessee. Now, will you be going back to, well, where is home for you right now? I know you travel, but
Yeah,
where?
I live in Wisconsin,
Okay,
in Milwaukee,
Milwaukee.
and Chicago too. So
Mhm.
I go to Chicago, Milwaukee. So,
Okay, so those would be where you lay your head down
yeah,
and unpack your suitcase for a whole week at a time.
yeah.
Well, we are so honored and with such a pleasure
Thank you.
to have you here with us. And I know you're getting ready for your big concert tomorrow, which won't air here until afterwards. But I do want you to repeat the name of the concert, the location, and the contact information, because after hearing him tonight, I'm sure that folks would like to learn more about the society and bring him back, or other artists of his caliber.
Sure. So we have, it's all on our website, but we have our January concert is, I think it's January 20th
Mhm.
at First Unitarian Church.
Okay,
And then we have two February concerts, kind of a Valentine's Day
okay.
concerts.
To
And,
the Cleveland
yeah.
patrons, yeah. So those are the upcoming concerts after tomorrow.
Yep, and then in April we have the Polish guitarist Marcindilla, who's playing
Okay,
at
so
First
you have a
Unitarian.
busy itinerary for
Yeah.
a performance calendar.
Yeah,
Do
we
you
have
set the
some other
performance
ones.
calendar yourself?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
About how many productions or concerts per year? Because that's a lot.
Yeah, well, we have, in our main series, we have 6 a year.
Okay.
And then we have a secondary series, which has about 3, and then we have some other events. So it ends up being, maybe about 12 events a year.
A year. Now, in that, do you do teaching seminars at all with that, or is it all performance?
Mostly performance.
Okay.
Yeah, we have done some instructional things as well.
Okay, because you said you go into schools, is that correct?
Right, we partner with Lincoln West High School.
Yes,
And, yeah.
One of our Cleveland Municipal School District
Yeah.
schools, yes.
Yeah. And so we provide a teacher to assist
Mhm.
in giving classical guitar instruction to 150 kids there.
I think Matt said that you started with like 30 students or one little
Yeah,
classroom,
you're right,
and then all of a
yeah.
sudden, exponentially, Gary, it exploded.
Yeah.
And now they have like 170 students, and
Yeah.
that speaks to the music. That speaks to our students, our young people, their interest, in the art, plus their skills and their talent that
Yeah.
they are involved in doing. And it's not all hip hop, R&B, but I do like jazz and blues
Yeah,
myself.
sure.
But that they're willing to learn a true art form
Mhm.
without any electronics, that goes back to the pure guitar. Isn't that amazing that I said all that?
Yes, it is. I'm impressed.
As well you should be. So as we close out, we want to begin. The videographer is just shaking his head behind the camera. But we want to thank Edel Munoz for stopping by here at the Wake Up and Live with the Arts show on his world travels, and for coming into Cleveland with Erik Mann. And I still must give a shout out to Matt Riles, who was instrumental in Erik and Edel joining us this evening. And of course, we must thank our host and sponsor, the Ivy.
The one and only Iverson Trailer.
Yes, owner of the Greenmont Party Center. And most of the time I forget to acknowledge that we have funding from United Black Fund.
Mhm.
And I better remember to start saying that, because that would be real helpful.
You just did.
Thank you. Okay, that to the United Black Fund. So be sure, as we close out this segment, as you wake up every day.
Wake up and live with the arts every day.
Yes, that's important. See you later.